Today on Quiet Arena Podcast,
She is not shy of being first.
Capri Richardson.
I was the only black girl and a freshman. I really felt like I was at the bottom of the bottom. I have to be the best.
I can only imagine the mental warfare that was going on for you.
You just go from the money, the autographs, to this, to that, to so
The
who
stadium is
who are
loud, the
you?
lights are bright, the crowd is cheering.
I'm a savage, drop the classic, thinking back.
But every athlete eventually has to answer one question. What happens next? Because when the arena goes quiet, the real game begins. Welcome to Quiet Arena.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is your man, Tony the Tycoon. And as always, welcome to the locker room. Welcome to the Quiet Arena. I am so excited to get into today's topic of discussion. This young woman is not, and I repeat, she is not shy of being first, all right? So I'm going to get right into it. So today's guest is someone who didn't just play the game, she made history in it. At the University of Montana, she became the first black player in the program's history while building a career that carried her from Division I volleyball to playing professionally overseas. So from the outside, it looked like everything was lining up. But like many athletes, the game doesn't tell the whole story, because after the season's end, after the travel stops, after the identity of being the athlete starts to shift, you're faced with a different question. Who are you without it? Well, let me tell you something. Capri answered that question building something new. She's now a mental health professional, the founder of First Contact Athletic Counseling, helping athletes navigate the transition she once had to walk through herself. So this isn't just a story about volleyball. It's about identity, about transition, and about becoming the whole beyond the game. So Capri, I appreciate you for being here. Let's jump into it, young lady. How you feeling today?
All right. Man, first off, blessed. And what an intro that was. Oh my goodness. Talking me up, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely, deservingly so. So look, we talked about you making history, right? So first and foremost, I want to congratulate you on being the first woman to be interviewed on the Quiet Arena podcast. So you just full of first around here. You know, you setting trends. You're a trendsetter.
Thanks.
Um, I want to dive into that a little bit. So you were the first black player in history at the University of the Montana volleyball program. When you look back on that, what did that actually mean to you beyond the court?
Well, I will say when I got into it, I didn't realize I was the first, right? Like,
Mm,
you know how they do on recruiting trips, right? You know, talk up everything and all the shiny
yeah.
bells and whistles of everything. And then I was 17 when I was going through my recruiting journey, and then my mom was with me, and she was a military service member throughout her whole adult life, so she had no idea what the recruiting journey was like either. I was the first student athlete in my family to even do this. So nobody knew what questions to ask. Like, has there been anyone else before me? Are there hair braiders in the area? Simple questions that, we would have, it would have been nice to ask. But yeah, so going through it, I didn't know. I was just like, man, things feel really tough. This must just be what college ball is like. No,
Mm,
not
yeah.
completely.
No, absolutely. I can only imagine, like, it's different when you have, people in your corner that can give you some insight on what to expect. But when you're going through it for the first time, it's like, I don't even, like you said earlier, I don't even know what questions to ask, or, what feels right or what's not supposed to feel right. Like, I don't even really know how to feel in the moment. It's probably just excitement and elation to know, like, hey, I'm going to be playing at a major university.
Yes, that's literally all I was thinking. I was like, man, I'm on a full ride. I don't, my parents don't got to worry about nothing. I got this. Yeah, I was just straight up excited. Um, and I always tell this story too with it. Like, yes, the volleyball was there for me. And if anyone's ever been to Montana, you know how beautiful it is.
Mm.
But what really got me was they had a dance building right across the way from like the athletic center, the
Yeah.
athletic building. And the year that I would be a freshman, they were going to put on the musical Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And I was like, I want to do that. So if you guys will let me do that, I will come. And sure enough, that's what happened.
So you got to get on multiple stages.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. That's cool, man. That's dope. Well,
Yeah.
listen, this is what I do know. I do know on your athletic background, like you dominated. You had a
Thank
strong career there, over 500 kills, dominant seasons, and then you went on to play professionally overseas. Um, at that point in your life, how much would you say your identity was tied to being an athlete?
I would say I don't know if I was lucky or unlucky, but all of my like level ups, if you will, were
Mm-hmm.
happenstance. Um, because my parents were both military, had no idea about this journey. I didn't even know playing in college was a thing
Mm-hmm.
until somebody asked me, and I was like, "Oh, I thought I was just going to go on my academics." And then the same thing happened the closer I got to my senior year of college ball. Um, the new head coach we had that year, he had ties to USA Volleyball, and he was like, "You know, you could play professionally, right?" And I was like, "No." And so he is the one who actually like propelled me into that space. But I thought I was just going to be, a clinical psychologist. Like I was just going to go do that and be cool. So as far as identity, I never really got a chance for the athlete identity to, encapsulate my whole being because I never thought those things were possible in the first place.
Man, that's interesting. So you're coming from it from a different perspective. You were already like you were doing something more as a hobby as opposed to like, hey, this is who I am. This is how I'm locked in on it. So you already had like a pathway that you were already interested in outside of the sport. Yeah,
Yes.
that makes for a different type of thought process.
Yes, absolutely. It's kind of one of those things now that I work with clients on of like, you have to have a plan. Because if you
Mm,
don't, it's going to eat you up and you're going to feel lost and feeling like you're getting pushed off a cliff, right? So in
yeah.
my case, I was unconsciously, very unconsciously doing that. And it ended up paying dividends in the end. But, when I had my athlete hat on, I'd go hard, was able to be third ranked in history for blocking and attacking and things like that. And that's because I just love the sport. Like I love just like hitting the ball, blocking the ball, making faces, doing all of that. That was my fun zone. And then after that, it was like, okay, time to go study or time to go hang out with so and so.
That's cool. That's real cool,
Yeah.
man. That in itself is a blessing, because a lot of athletes, they pour their whole being into whatever their sport is, and so when that sport is removed, and they're left in the abyss of what to do next.
Yeah.
So we talk about the transitional phase, but before I dive into that, I am curious
Hmm.
because you talked about being a military family. So your mom and your dad were both in the military.
Yes,
So
sir.
so that means your discipline is like off the charts. Like where you like, did you have to fold your socks a certain way and then your shirts and all that stuff? Make sure the toothbrush was southwest counter corner.
You know
So,
what? I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. No, just kidding.
well,
Yeah, things are pretty strict.
yeah.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was like? What was like for you before being from a military family? What was life like before the volleyball side of things?
Yeah. Life was, let's see. We moved around quite a bit. I was born in Utah. Lived in Maryland. I call Maryland home. That's where all my folks are at anyway.
Hmm.
And then to Japan, and
Oh
then to
wow!
Colorado. Yes, like we were all over the place.
How was Japan?
Oh, I loved it so much. I was there during my middle school years, so I still remember. Yeah, I would move back in a heartbeat. Yeah.
What was one of your favorite experiences while you were in Japan?
I would say the Cherry Blossom Festival.
Mm.
And I'm, like I said, I'm primarily from Maryland. And if anyone knows, like East Coast, there's the cherry blossom season. And you just see the lawn covered with pink petals, and it's just beautiful. And it doesn't last long. And so in Japan, it's like all over the place, right? and it's just beautiful. And you get to see this merger of like old traditional Japan with like new modern, like crazy cool Japan, and just the natural beauty of it.
Man, that's dope. Like, I've been overseas myself. I went to Spain for the Junior Olympics, and so I got to experience different culture. Like when you come back to the States, you don't come back the same. Like those
No.
experiences, ingratiating yourself into that way of life or wherever it is that you are, it gives you a different perspective. Would you say that that also like played into the aspect of identity for you as it pertains to like why you didn't find yourself caught up in it like most athletes do?
Oh, for sure. Like when you get an opportunity to get outside of yourself, and see how much bigger the world is, it really makes you appreciate all the small and big things in life. You take less things for granted, right? Like one of the places I played, even Kosovo and Serbia, like
Mm,
those were still war torn places.
yeah,
People my age at that time were like, I can still remember the Yugoslav war. Like, I'm like, I didn't have to fight no war when I was growing up, but these
yeah.
people had to fight their own neighbors in their backyard. And it was a huge deal. And it's still, that country or that area is still suffering from it. So it makes you appreciate the things that you have and realize there's so much more to the story.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I it's so funny. My wife says, be grateful for the problems that you don't have. When you see about when you
Yes.
hear different people's
That's
experiences of life. So yeah, so she got me with that one. I hold on to that one.
Mm-hmm.
So as an athlete, one of the things that people never see is the dedication to the sport that it takes to get to that level. Like you talked about,
Mm-hmm.
dominant seasons, playing overseas, third in blocking. What are some of those sacrifices that you had to make to get to that type of level of athlete?
Yes. You know, like I mentioned before, growing up in a strict household, I didn't get the opportunity to like go party, go live it up in high school and things, date even, like, please. Right? Like I did not get any of that. So college was
So brothers,
real
brothers couldn't
tempting.
come knocking on your door and saying, "Hey, Mister Richardson, let me,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
can I
No,
take
no,
out
they
your
knew
daughter."
better.
Not
Uh-huh.
happening.
No, no, they
Yeah,
knew better.
yeah,
So college was like, oh, the world is my oyster. Let's see what can we get into, right?
yeah.
And at first it was real tempting. And then I was like, you know what? I love this sport. I love, where it's gotten me. So I feel like I would be doing it a disservice if I were to, you know, go out and do too much. I won't go into what doing too much is, but if I were to abuse drugs, or if I were to, not train the way that I know I can train,
Mm,
because it would just disappoint me and piss me off, quite frankly. So I was just like, no, I got to stay on the straight and narrow with this, because who knows what this can become. And even going back to your first kind of question about how race even played a part in this
mm,
for me. I was the only black girl and a freshman, right? So I really felt like I was at the bottom of the bottom.
mm.
No one was also from my region of the country. I would go to practice. Tony, I would go to practice sometimes in a do rag, and the girls would ask like, "What is that on your head?" I'm like, "Oh, I didn't think I'd have to explain that one, but here we are." So it was just like, dang, I felt the need, like I have to be the best that I can be, so that I don't stand out more than I already do in a negative way.
Yeah.
And that was unhealthy. I will say I had to work through some of that like racial trauma that I dealt with being on my team, but it that didn't allow me to slip, because it was like, well, of course she messes up because she's the black girl, of course. So I was like, I'm not gonna give you that. So yeah.
So when you find yourself in an environment like that, what do you hold on to? What do you hold on to help you to overcome that type of adversity? I mean, you're overseas, you're in a different place, you're the only of your kind,
Hmm.
right? I can only imagine the mental and emotional um, warfare that was going on for you at that particular time.
Yeah. I mean, it was rough, right? Like I said, I was freshman. I was a red shirt freshman, so I didn't get to travel sometimes. Like I
Mm,
really had to work my way up. And thankfully I did because that following season, like I had a standout season and to the point where some of my teammates were looking at me like, who does she think she is? So it was one of those like I knew I couldn't win. At some point, I had to realize, wait, there's no point in trying to, impress or to get along just to get along. I just have to do this for me and my family because that's what I came here with and that's what I'm leaving with. And so I had to get over that real quick. And I also lost my dad my freshman year too. So it was just
mm.
very much like, yeah, we didn't come here to play around. And if they want to, do those things, they can do those things. But I'm gonna be over here. You can do your thing from the bench, but I won't be there.
No, no, absolutely. Man, I can't imagine what that's like being 17, 18 years old and having all of those different things, hit you all at once. You losing, your confidant and a person that I know you love. I don't know if you were a
Hmm.
daddy's girl or a mama's girl, but
Yeah.
I know that dads are important in all cases. And so
Yeah.
to lose your father and also to have to go through all of that, I mean, that just shows the strength of who you are as a person to be able to overcome that.
Appreciate that. Yeah. That really led my charge. So yeah, I do it. I do it for me. I do it for my family always.
So family was a very strong catalyst for you being able to plant your flag and say, "Hey, I'm not here to impress anybody. I'm here to get the job done and do what I came here to do."
Absolutely. And unfortunately, death puts things in perspective for you, right? You're met with your own mortality when someone close to you passes. And um, to get candid, on top of that, my dad passed from suicide.
Oh
Like,
wow.
that's, one of the worst things, one of the worst calls, right? Someone could ever get, especially when they're away from home.
Yeah.
And so that really put things in perspective of like, yeah, I'm really not here to play around. And my dad is actually the one who really inspired me to even play volleyball. Like he was
Mm,
a stud back in the '80s. So I was like, yeah, I wanna continue this on for us and for him.
yeah. No. And listen, I can only imagine how proud he is of you. Watching from above, seeing everything that you've been able to accomplish. So
Appreciate you.
shout out to you and your ability to continue to represent him and to push forward as you continue to scale and grow. Um, so you stepped away from the game, right? The
Mhm.
playing structure, the competition, um, the identity of being an athlete is no longer, no longer, right? People are not
Yeah.
knowing your name and asking for autographs. What did that we call that the quiet season? What did that quiet season feel like for you?
I will say that season felt so ghetto sometimes. Like you just go from, like you just said, the money, the autographs, the this, the that, to so who are you? And you starting back, at that level again, just like I explained with college of starting back at the bottom. You're like, I did all of that work and that's it.
Mm.
Okay, cool, cool. And so at that moment, like once I decided to retire, I got a job as a waitress at Red Robin.
Oh wow.
And I was just like, I gotta grind, I gotta work, I gotta pay these bills now. Um, and then I was like, wait, my dream is still to go back to school and get more education,
Hmm.
but that costs money too, right? So of course, I had the support of my family, the support of my boyfriend, who then became my husband. Um, and yeah, it was tough because there were some days where I'm like, you know what, I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing this. I don't know if I'm supposed to, if it's supposed to be this hard. But thankfully, like again, getting pushed, support, all of that, I was like, you got to finish what you started.
Indeed, absolutely. No, that's important. I heard it once said that adversity is not your enemy; it's your teacher. And
Hmm.
so if you're able to shift your perspective in that, then you come to find that all of the things that you've gone through are helping you to get to where you want to go. But even still, like there's still an aspect of, that identity foreclosure. There's still an aspect of these different questions and thoughts of who am I after the game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you're working through that, what were some of the questions that you were asking yourself that people probably didn't even know you were asking? Because we put on the front as athletes, like, oh, we're good,
Yeah.
everything's cool, yeah, I'm locked in, we're going to get after it, nothing can beat it, all that type of stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
we go home and it's just us. What were some of those questions and moments like?
I would say, when all of the lights go off, right, and those questions where we are just by ourselves, um, it would be, Capri, what is it that you really want to do? What is our purpose,
Mm,
right? Like my purpose was not to be a volleyball player because that would mean I would have lived a short life, and I saw so much more than just a career in that. And so I would ask that to myself. I would also ask, my partner, like, what do you see for us? What do I see for us? Does that align, right? Because we also have to remember when we are creating new identities, it's usually in community with other people,
mm.
right? And so when we're able to lean into our community, that can usually point us to the direction we want to lead into as well. So I would say those are my main things, like what is my purpose and what is the purpose for, this new family that I really wanted to create.
How did you go about discovering that for yourself?
hmm so I always made sure to do in my off seasons, like little, I call them excursions, but opportunities to work in different sectors of psychology, because that has always been my love. And so I would every summer come and work like at a behavioral center for children on the autism spectrum, or I would work at a residential facility for kids with behavioral issues, um, eating disorder facility. So I just always dabbled in all these different things and kind of left breadcrumbs for my future self of like, okay, did we like this? What did we not like about it if we did? And how do we use those past experiences to fuel what we eventually want to do?
Mm. So you were experimental with your interest, and eventually you
hmm
found like the pathway that aligns with what you feel that you're called to do,
hmm Yeah,
which is,
absolutely.
which is that's so interesting. Um, I wrote a book called What to Do When It's Done, and in there's a similar path. It's so interesting to see that even though we come from different you know backgrounds in different areas of the region, for you around the world, being in Japan,
hmm
right? As an athlete, it always comes back to our sole purpose. What do we feel that God or the creator or whatever it is that you call them or whatever it is that you believe in, but where do you feel that you're being tugged to operate in? And it's so funny that most of us as athletes, we don't ever attempt to explore that. A lot of
hmm
times it's because we believe that the sport is our purpose until it's
Yes.
removed. And now I won't say it's too late, but it definitely is harder starting from ground zero than it is somebody in your case that was, you were kind of always moving in the direction that you're in now, which
hmm
you went from being an athlete to being now a mental health coach. Um, can you walk me through how you got to that journey? And then the second part of the question is, um, what pulled you in that direction, and how much of that came just through your own experiences?
Yeah. On my way to become a therapist, I honestly was just like, okay, I want to be able to, I've always been fascinated by the mind. And so I want to be able to have so much education, so much research background so that I can help people. And when I was a kid, I always loved to tinker with pens or other things I could take apart and put back together. And that's kind of how I view the mind of like, okay, let's break things down piece by piece, digestible parts, so that we can see. the sum, right? The whole. Because everyone's brain works differently, everyone's reality and perception is different. And when we are able to explain that and understand it as best as we can, we're able to live more authentic and more improved lives, right? And so going into that journey of wanting to become a clinical psychologist, things like that, that didn't end up happening, but I became a therapist and a counselor, a licensed counselor now, um, through study. So I went back to school. I got my master's in 2.5 years. Had a lot of internship hours, 3,000 hours after that,
Mm.
to eventually get licensed. And so during that, I didn't even realize I could see athletes. I didn't even realize I could see my own population until I saw that representation, when I got an internship at Baylor Athletics. And that's where I got to work with student athletes, getting to share my story, but more importantly, from a clinical lens of being able to provide therapy, work through diagnoses if someone had one. And so that really fueled me to be like, no, this is my purpose. This is my passion. This is my purpose. And so I'm really glad that I was able to find that. Secondly, my the way that it was your second question was, how did
Like,
I get? Mhm.
yeah, how did that? How did your own experiences lead you to that path?
Yeah. I was able to get into this because, like I mentioned earlier, with my father passing, there were obviously a lot of ties to mental health issues.
Mm.
Some that I didn't know were there, but that's right, usually what kind of drives folks to that road. And I was just like, man, if only he had somebody in his corner that could just say, I see you, I understand you, and then this suffering will not last for long, right? Especially when it comes to Black folks, right? Like sure our stories are probably similar in like our families or our culture doesn't really lean on mental health professionals
Yeah.
in the way that we could or should. Um, and so when that gets sidestepped, we're missing a lot of the story. We're missing a lot of the help and support that we could have received. And so part of this journey was inspired by him. And then secondly, some of the things that I would hear or see from my teammates. Um, Again, I come from Maryland where, women are, exceptional in any form that they come. But from some of the cultures that my teammates came from, specifically like the Pacific Northwest and things like that, where, this was kind of the body type and that was beauty. Um, they would say things in the locker room like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so fat," or before a game, a 2.5 hour game, I'm just going to eat a Caesar salad and all of these things that I was just like, what is this thinking? I don't understand. And later was able to come to the conclusion like, oh, there was maybe some, disordered eating or body image issues, things like that, that I was able to look back and say, okay, I wish they didn't feel that way. Because that is not a healthy way to have an outlook, especially when you're an athlete, right? Like we use our bodies for so much good and so much beauty. So to treat it well um, is to treat our lives kindly and live through our sport in a healthier way. So that really led me to be like, okay, I really want to help our population because who gets us better than we do?
Yeah.
Right? Who is able to understand, those we can look each other in the eye and be like, I see and I feel you. I know exactly what you mean. Right. So getting that education to become the therapist for us has been nothing short of a blessing. And I'm so happy to be able to help my community.
Yeah, no, that's so dope, man. Like, yeah, I mean, look, if you played on any level of sport, then essentially what you're speaking to is we speak the same language.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, if you've played at high levels, it's hard to find your community, which you and I both met at PAC, the pro athlete community, which is
Yes.
dope. So we essentially found our tribe, and through our tribe we found our people. So
Absolutely.
that's cool. But yeah, like that's one of the things that I remember, having a conversation with Tashira about was like, man, it just feels like everybody here speaks the same language, you know.
Yes.
One of the things, being a psychologist, right? Um, Knowing that the issues and the traumas that are going on off the floor or off the
Mm-hmm.
field can directly affect our play on the
Mm-hmm.
field. And I heard an interesting thought process about, I don't know, you know who Doncic is, right? Luka Doncic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the
Mm-hmm.
basketball player. So they were talking about, him having like injuries and things, but more specifically this year, he's going through so much with a custody
Mm-hmm.
battle for his child in a different country, right?
Yeah.
And having to deal with that while trying to lead his team, in the
Yes.
playoffs and all of these things, and obviously he gets hurt. Um, what are your viewpoints on athletes that deal with any type of trauma? I guess in this case, family trauma and things of that nature. And have you ever had your own experience of dealing with things, whether it was while you were an athlete or a professional, um, that caused you not to perform your best in your field?
Oh, for sure. So when I work with athletes that are, most people come into me, I'll say this, most people come into me and say, I'm having confidence issues or I'm having a mental block,
Mm,
right? And that's where I'm like, okay, time to dig a little deeper. Um, I like to think of it as we all come in with a backpack. Whether that backpack is empty or full, we all come in with a backpack. And that backpack represents the weight, the things that we carry that people don't see, right? In a backpack, you don't know what's in there unless it's clear, but um, we don't know what other people are carrying in their backpack when they show up, right? And so when we open that backpack, if we open it, you will find you will find so many things that you're like, I did not realize you were carrying this into the classroom, or I didn't realize you were carrying this into your sport or your family, and you're still showing a brave face as if this thing isn't 10,000 pounds, right? And for some other folks, they're like, I can't open this backpack. It's stuck, or I'm not ready to open it. And that's where the work comes in of like, all right, we gotta face what might be underneath, that zipper once we do that. And then we gotta go through it, and then we gotta declutter it,
mm,
and then we gotta reorganize it in a way that weight doesn't wear us out, but
yeah.
it allows us to have the supplies and the tools that we need to carry on through the adversity. So that's how I explain it to a lot of the folks that I work with of like, what is in your backpack, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I can definitely understand that because, I mean, look, people can compartmentalize, but at some point, whatever that thing is that's holding you down will surface, right? It has to
Yes.
because we're humans, and
Yes.
as humans, we feel things, we see things, we hold on to things, and unless we address those things, they weigh us down like anchors in an ocean, right? From a boat.
Yes.
Um,
Hmm.
what has been maybe one of the most adverse things that you've had to overcome? I know you talked about your father, but if there's been
Hmm.
anything else that you had
Yeah.
to overcome, and then how did you overcome it?
Yeah. I will say also during my career at Montana, I had yes, I had an injury that took me out.
Hmm.
But the thing that hurt worse than the injury was how I felt discarded by my team
That's
again.
okay. Okay.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
I was on top when this happened. This was my first season coming off of my redshirt year, had a standout, first little bit of the season, and then injured by one of my own teammates. Um, and just felt like I wasn't I wasn't taking it seriously, or my injury was false. I felt like I wasn't included on activities or team discussions. And it was like, dang, as quick as that came, it left. right? That notoriety or that sense of like, wow, she should be a part of our team. She is a part of this team. So that was really tough to grow and do that alone. I felt alone when I had to go through that. Thankfully, though, I had friends off of the team, so I made friends with some of the tennis girls, some of the basketball guys, some of the football guys,
Yeah.
that would check in on me and be like, "Are you good? Do you need anything?" Things like that. But I was not fortunate enough to get that from my own teammates who, you know, according to my parents, that's who they thought would be my new family. And it was like, actually, no. I thankfully was able to make some new family outside of them, but that was tough. It was
Yeah.
really tough.
No, yeah, isolation, man, and especially these are the people that you spend the most of your time with. So to be
Hmm.
isolated within that same circumference of individuals, yeah, that and then you're already isolated just by the fact that you're not home, you don't have family there. So, yeah, but fortunately for you, you were able to find your version of family outside of that source, outside of that circle. So what we've come to realize as we're flowing through your story, Capri, is that you're somebody that has seen challenges and overcome challenges, and so now you take on
Hmm.
the next big challenge, which is starting your own practice. So I know that couldn't have
Yes.
been easy.
Oh,
Um,
at all.
what fears or doubts did you have stepping into that role, and then how did you push through them?
Well, I will say this. In school, they do not teach therapists to be their own boss. They teach you to be a worker bee. They teach you to go to agency and get burnt out and all of these other things. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And so learning the business side of it was like a whole nother self study. I was in that library reading books online, listening to all sorts of podcasts, like everything, just to be able to run a business of a therapeutic practice. And there's this dichotomy of like, okay, therapists, right, these helpers of the world, they're selfless, they're supposed to give all that they have. And then it's like, what, I also have to run a business, right, which is obviously for profit and things like that. And so I will recognize that these two worlds collide a lot, where it's like, wait, you charge that much, or you do this, and it's like, well, I can't help you if I don't keep the lights on in my house.
That's real.
Right. And that comes from like the sense of, I don't know how we view our helpers, but like we're supposed to just give so much of ourselves that it's like, okay, once you're depleted, then on to the next. That's why you see that there's not much governmental funding for mental health, and all of these different ways of advocacy and things are constantly under scrutiny of who we are able to help. So I will say that has definitely been the hardest part about this side of it and starting the business.
So it's so interesting. I believe a lot of that is it's industry, right? It's about industry. Like in certain industries, like if you're a luxury car salesman, the people that come to buy the car from you, they don't say, "Oh my gosh, this Rolls Royce or this Maserati costs that much."
Right.
That's what you're charging.
Right.
They don't say that, right? But if,
Mm-hmm.
if you're somebody that can help them in a space to where it's one of the most important things that you have, that being your mind, bro.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
you know what I
Yes.
mean? It's like I'm
Just
not,
like, oh.
yeah, like, oh my gosh, yeah, you do have the value, right? It's about the value.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
there's a proverb in the Bible that says that he that withholdeth the corn, the people shall curse you, but happy do the people be if you selleth it, right? So basically, what
Mm-hmm.
I get from that is like, look, I've gone through these certain experiences and been able to help people get these results. There's a value to that. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who the person is, and sometimes the price can be your safeguard. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't see the value in that, that's okay. Somebody
Yeah.
does, and I'll just work with those that do. So good for you for not
Yeah.
caving in on that type of stuff, man. Because that's crazy to me. Like
Yeah.
it's not a
Yeah.
it's not a
It's
nonprofit.
I'm saying, and you got to think, right? Like some of the stuff that we get and that we work through, work through things with people is really really heavy stuff,
Yeah,
very heavy stuff,
yeah,
and it's like so free. It's like no,
yeah,
that's not even good for my own mental health, right?
yeah,
So yeah, it's where we place the value, right? Like you said, we don't ask like a lawyer or a medical doctor, oh,
yeah,
can you lessen these fees? Like, no, why is the brain not taken as seriously as all of these other things or as seriously as a luxury car?
yeah. I truly believe, if you're asking me, I truly believe because it's not marketed, right? It's not marketed. Everything else is marketed in a certain way. Like if I buy, like for instance, if you look at Ozempic, take this
Mm.
and you'll get this result. It's instant, right? Or
Yeah.
social media and Instagram, right? Post this and you're gonna get this many likes and
Yep.
comments right now, right? But when you're talking about health, right? um, especially the mental aspect of health. One, it takes work. Two, you have to unpack
Yes.
years of trauma, and
Yep.
three, you might not see the immediate result. And in the
And
world,
that's not sexy.
yeah, it's not. And in the world of immediate, in the world of immediate, man, if you're
Hmm.
slow growth, oh, I don't want it.
Yep. Pretty much.
Yeah,
Pretty much. Yeah, it's baffling where it's like you said that, right? Like this thing happened to you when you were a kid and you always think about your dad whenever you see it and it's like, all right, so we understand that this has happened for a long period of your life, right? And just like when you're lifting weights, you don't get muscles just like that. But when it comes to the mind, there's some messaging that we have to work on as a profession of like this slow growth is where the best growth is so that you're not going to have to keep coming back to me to resolve the same issue versus okay, you're coming back because your check engine light is coming on, or just like you go to the dentist for a quick checkup, that's all we're doing versus we always have to keep returning to the same problem, right? It's just continuing the cycle.
yeah. It's no, nobody appreciates the farmer unless the farmer doesn't have a harvest.
Yes, sir. You can say that again. That's a word.
Right? Like, like,
Mm,
like, when you started having food issues, now everybody, what's going on with the farm? Like, y'all weren't
yeah.
looking at me when everything was
Y'all
rolling.
wasn't checking.
Yeah. Listen, I can tell you, I get that analogy because as an offensive lineman, the only time our name is called,
Yeah.
we mess up.
Yep. Yep. It's like,
so,
y'all
so we,
stop.
we get it. We understand it. So,
Absolutely.
so Doc, here's a question for you. Right now that you work directly with the athletes, what are you seeing that they're not prepared for when it comes to identity and mental health? Once the game it either changes for them or it ends.
People are not prepared for people to leave.
Mm. Mm.
People will
Okay,
leave.
yeah. Let's expound on that. You just sat me up in my
Yeah.
chair with that one. People are not ready for people to leave. Okay.
Yes. Yes. And if you want to even expand it just for people to realize like the life that you have, the glitz and the glory,
Mm-hmm.
once that fades, you will start to see the people, the opportunities, the things that were not meant for you
Yeah.
leave.
Mm.
And when you are on top of that mountain, everyone wants to be on top of that mountain with you,
Yeah.
and not everyone is meant to fit. Not everyone is meant to be there. And as soon as things go south, or as soon as your career ends, it gets lonely. Right at that precipice of like, okay, I made it to the top. It's time to step down, or you got pushed down. Um, you're not going to see people that are there to get your hand to lift you right back up that you thought would be there.
Mm. Mm. It's so interesting that you speak on that. One of the things that I talk to with a lot of young guys, I have a couple guys that were looking to get drafted, and it didn't happen
Hmm.
for them. Now they did get their
Hmm.
opportunity. They signed
Yeah.
deals with teams and got their opportunity. So all praises to the Most High for that.
Yeah.
But watching that process of somebody that did have the opportunity to get his name called, right? You get to see that aspect. So I'm going somewhere with it. So that's the beginning flow. Like they come in with a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that was a high round pick, and now the game has now, removed them from it. Whether it was the team saying we no longer value you at this space,
Mm-hmm.
whether your body says we can no longer do it, the injuries and things of that nature, whether performance slips, whatever it is, there's something that causes the alleviation of you being this person that was sought after for so long and
Yes.
being praised for so long, and now you're in the silence. And when you look at athletes, when you talk about leaving, a lot of athletes, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, this is what I believe. I believe they take on responsibility too early. Um, for instance, being married, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if 23, 24 years old, 25 years old is a time where you should be looking to say, okay, let me settle down. And I'm not saying it in a space of go out there and just sow your wild oats with any woman that you
Mm-hmm.
meet. I'm not even speaking in that construct.
Right.
I'm speaking to the fact that you don't know who you are, whose you are,
Yep.
and who you serve. You're going
Yes.
into an industry that is extremely, for lack of a better word, volatile in so many
Mm-hmm.
ways. If you're talking
Mm-hmm.
football, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually,
Yes.
there's a
Fast
lot of
paced.
nuances that are happening. And so these athletes get married, and then 2 to 12 years, they're financially struggling or bankrupt. There's a 60, no, there's like a 70 to 80% divorce rate. So now not
Mm-hmm.
only are you losing family, you're losing wealth. There's a lot of loss
Yes.
that's happening. And I don't believe those things are things that are talked about a lot. Have you ever experienced athletes that have been in that situation and they
Mm-hmm.
can talk to you about what that process was like? And could you share some of that? Like nothing that would get you in trouble, just generic
Yeah.
information about the athlete going through that structure that I just walked you through.
Yes, yes. Thank you for speaking on the confidentiality part too, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah, absolutely.
But
No
but
names, no
yeah,
names, no names. We don't
yeah,
need no breaking news.
yeah.
We ain't ESPN. We don't need no breaking news around.
Right. But definitely, I've even, in couples, because I work with some couples, professional athlete couples,
Mm.
and the spouse of that player, right? Like you just see that there are just two people living in two different worlds while existing in the same bubble,
Oh,
right? And we
good.
both know that that is a recipe for disaster if there's not some collision in a good way, or understanding, right? Like if you are coming from a place of like, yes, we maybe met before, he got big or she got big. There's that expectation of I'm used to the past version of you, or I'm used to seeing the potential version of you.
Mm.
But there's not so much time spent in the present. And as we just talked about, there's a lot of fast pace, volatility, a lot of ups and downs that come with professional sports. And so when that spouse isn't ready to be like, I'm just here with you in the moment because I just see you in the midst of all the craziness, that's where relationships go south. And that's where that athlete starts to see, okay, the person that I thought was going to be with me through it all wasn't ready, wasn't there.
Mm. There has to be. Listen. I've been through divorce myself, so it's tough. It's a tough situation all around. But like one of the things that I believe that would really help is if there was somebody like you that was able to get to these young couples and let them
Mm-hmm.
know what this journey truly looks like, and to ask the tough questions that are not being asked, because at the end of the day it's like, all right, I'm about to get drafted, I'm making hundreds of thousands,
Yeah.
I'm making millions. The man or the woman feels like, okay, I'm a provider. The opposite of that person is, oh, I'm just so happy to be here type
Yes,
of
to be
thing. You
alone.
know what I mean? Like there's like no real understanding of what this
That
unity
union is.
look like, right? And what
Uh-huh.
the ebbs and flows of this looks like, the growth looks like. So like I would love to figure out a way to be able to tie you in with some of these young people that are in these relationships, man. Because relationships, man, they're hard.
Very,
Trying, man.
very.
Trying. right?
And then you add all of this on top of just being in a relationship. It's not easy. Yeah.
No, not at all. Um, so you've man, well, you've come a long way. Like just listening to your story and the ebbs and flows, and to be where you are now and helping all of these athletes and things. Like when you look at your journey, like from being the first black woman in the program and having to deal with those issues, but then dominating and going on to play professionally for a few years, starting your own practice, helping athletes navigate life beyond sport. What are you intentionally building um, as your legacy right now?
I love that question. Intentionally building a safe space.
Safe space.
A
Mm.
safe space. And I don't mean that in like the, the pop culture version of how that phrase has been taken on, but literally I want to see people walk around with their shoulders down. I want to see people feel like they can take a deep breath when they wake up in the morning, right?
Mm.
Like that just peace that just gets to hit you, and like I love what I do, and that doesn't always have to mean sport. I love being a wife. I love being a husband. I love being a parent. I love being an athlete, right? Whatever space that you are walking into, let it be safe, let it be peaceful. But we can't do that, again, going back to that analogy, we can't do that if we're wearing 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds of bricks in our backpack.
I love that. I love that. Well, Doc, we always have this signature question. All right. So
Okay, bring it
when
on.
you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. So when the arena goes quiet, what part of you remains that the game could never take, and what are you building with it now?
I'm gonna say my voice.
Love that.
Yeah, my voice, because it's been attempted to be taken from me, right? When I was in college, I
Mm.
really felt that I had to be quiet. I had to be the meek black girl on the team. I couldn't say too much, do too much, be little. Um, and now my voice, the way that I get to speak with the people I work with, and show up for them, that's what some of them need to hear is my voice. My baby girl needs to hear the voice of someone who's been through it and showing her that she can do it too. So yeah.
I love that. Awesome. That's a wonderful answer. So look, Capri, I appreciate you being here and joining us. Tell the people where they can find you, what you're doing, all of that. Website, social, whatever, all of that, so they can go and reach out to you.
Yes, I'll keep it real simple because everything is on my IG. So my practice's IG is at first underscore contact counseling. Click the link for website, things like that. Follow along for educational tips. But yeah, if you're looking for, your backpack to be accessed and decluttered, that's where you can find me. Or if I'm not able to help you, I want to make sure you get the help. So in either case, reach out to me. But
Awesome.
thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, listen, everybody, the Quiet Arena family, man, I appreciate you guys for joining us as always. You can go to the quietarenapodcast.com. There you'll find the Athlete Circle, which is the school community where we bring on people like Dr. Capri to come in and to talk about different, mental aspects of the game and of the athlete and things of that nature. There's financial lessons, all of that stuff. They have complimentary resources there. And then you can also go to the resource tab at the Quiet Arena Podcast to get the What to Do When It's Done Navigating Life After the Game. That book is on there. As always, if you want to support, you can get the merch that's on there. So just go out there and explore everything. And the last thing I'll leave you guys with is this: as always, you are more than an athlete. And the
Yes.
transition doesn't have to be hard. You just got to reach out and get those people that have been through that. And I'm pretty sure there'll be more individuals that are willing to work and help you in that regards. You know one right here. So as always, it is your man, Tony the Tycoon. I'm out.
Living legend, lethal weapon, mastermind, never tried, tell them all.